We might be getting Knicks, we might not be getting Knicks. So it is a bit up in the air whether we're going to get this dude or not, man. But Devil is here. We're here for our Mondays. Remember, our Monday is our topic show. Every Thursday is our Q&A, always at 8 p.m. BST. Devil, how's your Thursday to Monday been, man? Anything interesting? Anything to inform the peeps?
No, man. Just working, breaking my back, trying to get money on the table. You know how it is.
Get that cash, man.
You know how it is. So yeah, that's been me, to be honest. Not much other than that.
So any other self-isolation stories and anything interesting, seeing any crazy people going crazy in the park? Because, but did you see that whole thing in New York where like, I think in New York and Georgia, guys are just like hundreds of people are just congregating together. I'm like, what?
Well, did you see the protest in London? Like a few days ago, they had a lockdown protest. So protesting against lockdown, saying that, it's all the 5G people saying that this coronavirus isn't real, it's 5G and rare.
No, so, but the weird thing though is that for these 5G people, where do you get this info from? Do you get it from Wikipedia or some internet site? And
I'd like to know where these conspiracy theories start from. Like, who's the first person to do it? I bet you they were high.
It's someone that was high, that was sniffing at 3 a.m. say, you know what, this corona thing was caused by 5G. Someone sees it, they retweet, and then suddenly it becomes a thing. Because if you should go back to the first person who said it, it was probably some flipping moron, man, which is a great thing. But before we actually go straight into this whole thing, man, what do you think about this? So Thomas Partey has informed Atletico that he would like to move to Arsenal and is hoping a deal can be struck between the clubs. So, first of all, I think Partey leaving Atletico is wild because I say right now he is Atletico's best player. But if he was to go to Arsenal, would you take him at Arsenal?
Of course I would. He ain't gonna come to Arsenal. What? I'll be very, very. We've not got money. Where are we gonna get money to sign Thomas Partey? Where are we going? Unless we sell Aubameyang, which is, that could happen. Unless we sell Aubameyang, but then if we sell Aubameyang, we're going to want to sign a striker to replace him, not a midfielder. I think Arsenal fans need to be more realistic. We get gassed over these transfer stories, and how many years have we had players and their agents linking themselves with our club because it's good, it gets media coverage, it makes the player look like he's available. We haven't got money to be signing players. If we did, we won't be asking the players to be taking wage cuts. We need to be realistic in terms of what we can do in the transfer market and what we're willing to do in the transfer market. It doesn't look like let's say, for example, if the season continues and we end up, when I say the season continues, I mean, they don't just null and void it. If they finish it where we are now, we're not going to be in Europe, let alone Europa League. That will be a massive deterrent for players. It's all well and good saying we've been in the Champions League for however long, but we've been outside of the Champions League for a while now. And the longer that happens, the less and less attractive it's going to be for players when they have alternatives like Manchester United or whoever else who are in Europe. So I think Arsenal fans need to be a bit relaxed when it comes to the transfers because I can't see us signing anyone, to be honest, anyone of any real value unless we sell players of value already. And that's going to be a Aubameyang.
Okay, so what do you think the maximum spend Arsenal can have in this market?
However much we get for Aubameyang plus possibly 15, 20 minutes on top of that.
Okay, so let me give you this scenario then. Would you sell Aubameyang to get Partey and other pieces, or would you just keep Aubameyang with the players they have now?
If Aubameyang wants to sign the contract, then we keep him. It's as simple as that. If he's not willing to sign a contract, or if we can't come to an agreement, then we sell him now because we don't want what happened with Ramsey to happen where we got nothing. We might as well sell him and then use that money to rebuild. If we do sell him, some people may say, we've got Lacazette, we've got Martinelli. I say sell Lacazette and Aubameyang, get rid of both of them. Because Lacazette is not the guy. He's been here long enough. We've seen that. Martinelli's 18, so come on. He has done well this season, but he's 18. That's not. You don't want to put all your faith in him. So even if we do sell Aubameyang, we sign Partey. where's the money for a striker? We're going to go Nketiah, Lacazette, and Martinelli. That's not strong enough.
Okay, all right, no, but we'll maybe look at that in a more detail when we do like an Arsenal focus. But guys, so what we're going to be doing over the next few shows is picking a club and fully 100% dissecting the club and so forth, looking at the players, where they went right, where they went wrong, and so forth. So for this week, we're going to be looking at Man City. So let me just kick things off because we're going to do this in very varying sections right now. So I'm going to start off with Sterling. Now, here's my theory, and David, tell me whether I'm crazy or psycho with this theory. Now, City are superbly well managed. I think Pep has done an amazing job, and I think he has definitely been at the forefront of City winning all those titles and then winning their treble, the so-called domestic treble last season. You know, David Silva, he's done his thing, and Aguero has done his thing. But for me, I think the defining factor was Raheem Sterling. Raheem Sterling's best season, I thought, was 2 seasons ago. Then I think he then went even better the last season, because it's not only the goals he scored, it's when he scored the goals. It's the amount of winning goals he scored, the amount of last-minute goals that he scored. And he was a guy who consistently was coming up clutch and coming up key for Man City. If things were different, if, let's say, we're living in a world with no VAR, City are playing a semi-final against Ajax, who they beat, and we now have a City-Liverpool Champions League final where anything can go. And Sterling would have had a hat-trick that would have taken them to the semis. But for me, this season, Sterling just hasn't been on it. And we'll get to other players and so forth, like a Laporte and a Leroy Sane, but I just think, particularly with Sterling, I think that's because people always said that, oh, Bernardo Silva is that dude, Mahrez is that dude. And for me, yeah, I feel that Bernardo Silva, Mahrez are better players. But I think the most effective player for Pep under his system has been Sterling. I think the fact that Sterling hasn't been so fully effective this season, I think has been one, not the main, one of the reasons why City have not been that good. So before we really look at Sterling, really dissect Sterling, where do you stand on that of Sterling's lack of effectiveness being a major contributor as to why City have not been as good this season as they were the previous 2 seasons?
Yeah, that makes sense. I think Sterling hasn't hit the heights of the last 2 years this season. He's not been rubbish. His return's still been decent. But I think because of the high standards that he's been playing at the last 2 years, it makes this year look like it's not very good. But what we have to look at the players that are, similar to him in terms of where they play and their output over the last 2 seasons. Mane and Salah, for example, are still doing it. They're still banging goals. They're still doing what they've done for the last 2 years. Sterling's dipped a little bit, and it makes it look even worse because of the slight dip. But, if you look back 5-10 years, if you had a winger or inside forward with the numbers that Sterling has this season, generally you'd say they're having a good season. It's just because of where we've been in the last few years, it makes it look like it's not that good. But he hasn't been as he was the last 2 seasons, and that has been an issue for Man City. But it's not just him. Bernardo Silva's not done anywhere near as well as what he did last season. There's quite a few of them actually in Man City that have struggled compared. I think the only 2 that I could really think off the top of my head who have been performing are De Bruyne and Mahrez. And Mahrez, funny enough, Mahrez has not been playing as many games as he should be, considering the form he's been on this season. Again, that is an issue for Man City, is that Mahrez is on form, but for some reason he doesn't seem to like him. He'll take him out. Rather than drop a Sterling, he'll drop Mahrez. I know there were points in the season where Mahrez was getting a run, but then all of a sudden when Mahrez had one game where he wasn't so effective, he dropped again. I think they do miss Sane as well.
No, I think because before we get there, just to focus on Sterling mainly, what do you make of this whole thing of he's a system player? Or rather, some people say that he's overrated because for me, like, always say again, like, whenever I say guy is a system player, it's not an insult or a detriment. If you're good, you're good, and if you're good based on the system, it's fine. All that matters is that you're an amazing player and you just do amazing. But there is now this notion, and I think it's a bit crass whenever people sort of aren't doing what they're like, oh, you're now crap now. So is this a case of, oh, Sterling isn't really as good as he once was? Everyone is not saying, and he's not that good, he's overrated and so forth. Or is it a case of, look, everyone has a bad season, everyone has a bad patch. Even the great De Bruyne has had a bad patch.
He's not having a bad season. He's just, his season isn't as good as it was last year. That's all it is. If you look at what he's done, he's still not having a bad season. He's having a decent season. It's not a great season, but it's not bad. And when you look at it, you have to name me one player in world football who can go 6-7 seasons without having a dip in form. I'll give you Messi and I'll give you Ronaldo. And even Ronaldo, every now and again, it looks like he's gone on a dip. But this is what I'm saying. The world of football has become so... everyone's looking for perfection every single time that, you know, if you're not as good as you were, all of a sudden you're overrated, you're rubbish, you're, you know, all this stuff. And to call him a system merchant, he played in a different system at Liverpool, and look what he did there. So I don't see that to be the case. I just think whenever someone plays under Pep Guardiola, that's the first thing you want to say, is that if it wasn't for Pep's system, they'll be rubbish. That's not true. People said about De Bruyne. De Bruyne was doing it at Wolfsburg under a completely different system. So,
but let's just look. 23-11. That's not that bad.
That's what I'm saying. It's not. He's not like he's done
5 goals in 4 CL games. That's not bad.
That's what I'm saying. Compared to last season and the season before, that doesn't look so good. But when you just look at it for what it is, that's a decent season. He's not doing rubbish. It's just he's dipped underneath his usual high standards, which is fine. Footballers will do that. Do you know what I mean? It's not like he's having a bad season.
Oh, no, and I think which is why people have to sort of like give him credit, because as you said, a lot of people, like during that whole big season, it was Sterling, Silva. People say, oh no, Bernardo Silva is the better player. But since Sterling has now dipped in form, you should have expected Bernardo Silva to sort of now come in and fill in the gap. But he's not been able to fill in the gap and really provide the kind of goals that you would have wanted in Sterling's absence, you know. So, but I think it's true though. It's like every player has a dip in form. And I think that but why do you think people are much harder on a Sterling when he has a dip in form than other players?
It's obvious.
That's the thing.
It's obvious. It's obvious. I don't want to blame it all on the media, because I know a lot of people that will say that he's had a dip in form won't be saying it for the same reasons for what the media will say. We're saying certain things about Sterling, but it puts a seed in your head. It puts a seed in your head that he's the guy that whenever he does something not so good, we're going to jump on that. And it's just, if that's beaten into you enough, which it has been by media and by certain sets of fans, then it's going to trickle down. And even subconsciously, you're going to be like, oh, he's not that good. He's overrated, blah, blah, because that's all you've been hearing for so long from so many different places that it's going to start to sound like it makes sense to you. But I just think Sterling's one of those guys. He's just, you know, he creates headlines. No matter what he does, whether it's good or bad, people are going to talk about him. And that's just the way it is. But I think it's just one of those things where, if, as I said, look at any other winger in the Premier League or any other inside forward in the Premier League who isn't Mane or Salah. Who's coming back with those numbers?
I mean, because see, I always felt, and people called me crazy, that I don't know whether it was last season or the season before that, if you looked at Sterling's numbers and his output, you could make an argument of him being on that Ballon d'Or stage based on what he did within the season. And people called me crazy. Oh my God, I said, forget that it's Raheem Sterling and he isn't a Messi or anything like that. Just look at what he's done for a team that won 4 trophies. You may say, okay, what were those trophies? Look at what he did for a team that won 4 trophies. And forget that he isn't a name that you know. If you just look based purely on the output, he should be on that stage.
And you know, people always say as well that he just scores tap-ins. Like, people who've played football.
Tapnaldo?
Yeah, but the thing is, I just think that's just a silly insult. If you're a goal scorer,
Yeah, movement.
Yeah, movement, and you only score tap-ins because you have good movement. Yeah, if you can move away from a defender and you get that split, that little inch or yard of space, so you get to the ball before the defender, that's clever. That's high football IQ. How many strikers are in the wrong place when the ball is put across? You have to know where to be, and that's part of scoring tap-ins. Great strikers have done it. Shearer did it. He scored all sorts of goals, but he scored plenty of tap-ins. Ronaldo, plenty of tap-ins. Romario, all of these big strikers scored plenty of tap-ins because they knew where to be. Ruud van Nistelrooy was the king. He was the king of the tap-in. He scored one goal for Man United from outside the box, and he scored 100 and something goals. It was all in the box because he knew where to be. And that's clever. And it's something that Pep probably works on the training ground, that he knows if you've got the ball on this side and Raheem, you're on this side, you need to know where to be when that ball's put in the box.
Okay. Before we go to the next one, so Footy Wizard said, thank you for the super chat. Says, yes, my team. Who are City's 5 greatest players? For me, I'd say Aguero, Company, Silva, Toure, Kinkladze. Wow, Kinkladze.
Kinkladze is a baller, man.
Way back, man. I mean, for me, I think I'd say definitely Aguero number 1. Actually, that's pretty much what I would do. But for me, let's see what De Bruyne does. Because because we will get to De Bruyne afterwards, but I do think that when all is said and done, and people can be calling me a De Bruyne hater, I think De Bruyne is going to do something big for Man City. So it might be, and I think it may be something to do with the Champions League. And I think if he does, then you've got to put him on that list, perhaps even ahead of like a Silva or a Company, if let's say he leads them to like a Champions League. So I want to come to Leroy Sane. Now, Leroy Sane is, for me, this guy is a quality, amazing player. And for me, I say that, when I say the best young players in the world, I talk about the prodigy, aka Mbappe. I talk about Sancho. I talk about the Ousmane Dembele. Yes, the Ous. And I put your boy Leroy Sane in there.
How old is Sane?
I think he might be 21 or something. Leroy Sane.
He's got to be older than that now.
24. Oh,
24. Wow, that's what I'm saying. He's not this young. You need to get rid of that. He's been around.
Really?
How old is Sterling?
Sterling younger than him? Oh, 25. Sterling is still 25.
Yeah, so about the same age. But you see how one's you see how it changes. Sane is like one of the best young players, up and coming potential. Sterling, overrated, blah blah. There's a year's difference. People forget how young Sterling is and what he's done in the game.
That is actually crazy, man. That is actually crazy. But let's look at Sane, man. So let me ask you this then: if Sane was fit, he was fully fit, how would that have affected City this season? So if they had, because again, remember, obviously we'll get to how Leroy Sane has been disrespected and him maybe going to Bayern Munich, but let's just say he was fit. How would they have changed City's fortunes this season? Does he play as much as you think, or does Pep still say, well, let's chop and change? Because again, he is on the left, so he'd be battling Sterling, and I don't think he really plays on the right. So how much do you really think that he would have helped City this season?
I think obviously a player of his quality would have helped. Obviously, I think it would have given them a bit more option. The thing with Sane is he's a lot more direct and kind of holds the width a little bit more for City. So if you're playing against a team that is trying to bring everything narrow and you've got Sterling who wants to come inside, having someone like Sane could stretch the pitch a little bit more. So it gives you that option. But to be honest, I think Man City's fortunes, I think where they've gone wrong is not at that end of the pitch. He is a big player, but I don't think it's that end of the pitch that's been the problem for them. I think it's the other end of the pitch that's been a big problem. So I don't see how much he could have really changed that.
No. Okay, true, because we're going to get to Laporte though. But then there's a whole thing of you score 2, we'll score 4. You score 3, we'll score 5. And yes, City have been conceding, but again, this is a whole thing of like, if you score more than your opponents, you win. It's not about whether you concede. Yeah, you can concede, but if you just score more than you concede, you win.
Yeah.
And I just think that Sterling not playing well, what's it called? Bernardo Silva not playing too well, Mahrez playing well, but not obviously a high volume goal scorer and as dangerous offensively as a Sane. Can you say something with that? If Leroy Sane is in that team and not attacking the outlet, he would have been able to turn the game around, like that game against Wolves, that game against United. He'd have been able to turn the game around and offer something to get them back in the game and in a winning position.
Possibly. It's a tough one, but as I said, he does offer something different to what they have. They don't have anyone to replace him and the way that he plays as part of the front three. I think both Sterling and Mahrez are quite different to what he is. You know, he wants to get wide and, you know, get fizz crosses across, you know, the box and stuff like that, whereas Sterling and Mahrez are trying to go narrow all the time. So it would give them a different option in terms of going forward. But he's a quality player. You can't say anything other than that. He's a quality player. And he did score some big goals. And, you know, if you look at his output when he's fit, it's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. So any team would miss those kind of numbers.
So what do you make of this whole Leroy Sane to Bayern thing? And why do you think that City aren't fighting hard to keep him? Because for me, it just doesn't make sense. Because I'm like, he's such a big time player. He's such a good player. And it gives them something different. How have they now come into a position where like it is almost very close that he's going to be joining Bayern Munich? Because for Sane, whether he was injured or not, he just hasn't been preferred to with Pep. And this is what I've always said, because it's a tough decision to make. Sterling has been supremely effective, but I've always said that Sterling is more effective. Leroy Sane is the better player. But I do think that so much focus has been put on Sterling, and Leroy Sane has hardly had that much of a look in. That for a player that's good, even if Sterling is in a team, for a player that's good, I just think it's sacrilegious to leave him on the bench. So, do you think City are making a big mistake letting someone as good as Leroy Sane go, or do you think it is what it is? Because again, even if you now sell Sane, who's to deputize Sterling? Bernardo Silva can't play on the left. Mahrez can't play on the left. Are you going to be? Can you find a player as good as a Leroy Sane on that left flank? So, or do you just have to change your entire formation?
No, they'll just buy someone else. They'll just
as good as Sane.
He might not be as good as Sane, but he might be effective for what they need. Sane is a great player, and I think the Bayern Munich move would be good for them.
It could be amazing.
It'd be good for them. I think it'll be good for him as well. But we don't know what's happening on the training ground. There were reports of him and Pep not really seeing eye to eye. And it seems like once you fall out with Pep, that's it. Do you know what I mean? You're tarnished. That's it. So I think, you know, he runs his football club however he wants to run his football club. It's up to him. And if Sane doesn't fit in, then I can understand why you'd sell him. He seems like the kind of manager that needs everyone to be pulling the exact same direction and all on the same page. If Sane's not exactly there, then I can understand why they'll get rid of him. It's worked for Pep so far. You can't say it hasn't. Guy's pretty successful. So if he goes, then they'll go and find another, young striker or attacker who can, score goals when needed, assist when needed, and cause havoc. There's quite a few players out there that maybe are not as good as Sane, but with the right coaching and the right environment could become really good players. Who knows? They could go and upset Man United and go get Sancho back or something. You never know.
Now that'd be wild, bro. But with that Sancho left, I don't think Sancho would want to go back to Man City. And I don't think.
But there's other players out there, like they could go and get Diaby from Leverkusen, who's looked good since he's been there. They could go get Bailey, for example, from Leverkusen, another one. There's players out there who fit the mold.
Focus best Champions League performance of the last 10 years. Neymar versus Juve.
Last 10 years.
Miracle of Camp Nou. I have to say, like, what you see, that's the thing about that miracle at Camp Nou, it wasn't. I don't know if they connect to a performance. It's just those 12 minutes were amazing. But as far as a performance, probably I would say Javi in the 2011 final. Javi, yeah, I'll probably say Javi 2011 final, yeah. And maybe Robin in that in the 20
against Dortmund
against Barca.
The one against Barca.
Like basically the 2013 game. No, two. Yeah, I'll give it to so Javi 2011 final, Schweinsteiger in the 2013. I think it was the quarterfinal. I'm not sure. The second leg at Nou Camp. So after they'd won, I think 3-0 in the first, no 4-0 in the first, or 3-0 in the first leg, and I think they won 4-0 in the second leg. Trust me, Schweinsteiger's performance in that game was amazing.
Tough one. That's a tough question. Let's say Karius. Loris Karius in the Champions League final.
Do you know, apparently, he's Besiktas don't want to pay him. It's like, why would Besiktas want to pay you one kobo? Why?
I don't know if he's done that. I don't know what he's been like over there. I don't know if he's done well or not. But, man, the guy's playing for you, man. Pay him. Come on, man. He's been through enough.
No. Basically, I don't. Basically, it is one of the worst. I can't think of, because literally, I cannot think of a worse moment from a professional player on a big stage than that. Because I thought what that loser, whose name will not be named, missing an open goal for Nigeria in the, I thought that was the worst moment ever. But luckily, it was because what Karens did is like, you threw the ball to a striker who was 2 yards away from you in the champ. It's basically, I still can't believe it happened. That's why I'm actually too afraid to even watch the clip again. So I've only seen that goal once. You know, that says that we can City get Mbappe?
I mean, City could probably buy who they want. Do you know what I mean? In the way that they do their finances or whatever, they could probably buy who they want.
Would Mbappe choose City over Real Madrid, though? That's the thing.
Well, Mbappe apparently is going to Liverpool, isn't he? There's big rumours that he's going to be rocking up at Liverpool if they sell Mane or Salah. So Mbappe will leave. We all know this. He will leave.
And he has to leave.
He will leave soon. It's just where he goes. But Real Madrid, will he go there? It seems like the perfect fit.
No. Basically, I will be shocked if whenever it happens. I'll be shocked if Mbappe doesn't end up at Real. It's just made to happen. I think Mbappe knows Real Madrid. Everyone knows. So I will be shocked if Mbappe doesn't end up at Real Madrid, because I always say, look, people say I'm crazy. To truly be in that greatness thing, you have to have played and succeeded at either Barcelona or Real Madrid. If you look at all of most of the great players, whether it's Ronaldo, whether it's Zidane, Ronaldinho, Messi, Cristiano, they've all gone through Barcelona and Real Madrid and succeeded. Even those who've not even succeeded, they've still have got to go through that test of Barcelona or Real Madrid. So, now this is where we're in right now, because I think you even touched upon it. I've always said Pep doesn't care about defense, and he had the luxury of not caring about defense because for Barcelona they kept the ball so well. For Bayern Munich, similarly, they kept the ball so well. That's why we had this whole debate of like, how good is Puyol really? Because for Puyol, how much defending did he really have to do when he played with possession-heavy teams? To be real, how much defending did he have to do? But I think for Laporte, though, is you could definitely see that how much they missed him and how much he needs defenders who know how to read the game, because City are not a defensive team. So they will always give you space. So against City, you will always have the elements of the counterattack. But the issue is that how good are you on the counterattack and how well can you use the ball when the ball is given to you? But again, because people know City so well and they know their characteristics and how they play, that okay, no, we know the channels and the spacings and the runs to make in order to really expose them. But once now removed a Laporte out of there, United, Wolves, how they were able to so successfully, I think Wolves beat them twice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and the way that they got beaten was just, it was bad to defending. You put Laporte in there, he would have been able to snuff out and ensure that his positioning would have been in such a way that those kinds of chances or those goals wouldn't have come through. So do you think, I believe Laporte is the reason why, is the singular reason why City have done so badly this season? So
I don't think he's a singular. I think Laporte's injury is massive. Company not being there is massive as well. They didn't replace Company. I think Pep kind of went into the season almost half-heartedly when it came to the defense, because you knew you weren't going to have Company. You didn't sign a replacement. Laporte obviously had the injury, didn't sign anyone. So he was kind of hoping he could fit Fernandinho and Otamendi, or John Stones. John Stones, we all know his problems with injury and also form.
and how John Stones ain't even that great,
Yeah.
really.
I mean, John Stones is a good defender, but
he's not really that level, though.
He's not. Yeah, it's not worked for him at Man City. Whether that's because of the injuries or just the club maybe is too big for him, who knows? But you haven't addressed a massive glaring hole in your team, and because of that, you've fallen behind Liverpool. Now it was going to take a monumental effort again for Man City to keep up with Liverpool. Now let's not say anything like they won back-to-back titles. Do you know what I mean? To win 3 titles in a row, I think it's only Man United who've done it.
Yeah, only United
in the Premier League. Only Man United have done that. So
did they do it twice?
Possibly. Ferguson was just running things, wasn't he? But so for them to get anywhere near winning it again would have been ridiculous achievement. So I kind of expected Man City to wobble. I kind of expected that. And him not signing any centre backs, suicide. So I think, they missed Laporte massively, but I don't think it's just Laporte. I think it's the fact they didn't replace Company. Also, their fullbacks. A club of Man City's size, they shouldn't be playing Zinchenko left back. He's not a left back.
And wait, who's that bold Spanish dude that they had?
Angelino.
Yeah.
And Angelino is a good player. I don't think he's a Man City player, but now at Leipzig, he looks like the player he was at PSV.
Yeah. But then, as I said, like City isn't his. I think Leipzig is really his level, though.
Yeah.
No, but for me, it's like, because we said they didn't replace Company, but wouldn't you say Laporte is a replacement for Company, though?
Well, no, because Laporte and Company were the centre back pairing towards the end of the season. Company, obviously, we all knew he was on his way out for years. But when they won that title, beating Liverpool to the title, Company's re-emergence towards the end of the season was kind of what pushed him over the line, obviously with that brilliant goal against Leicester. So to know that influence that he had, because also it's him in the club as well, just the influence he has around
his leadership and so forth. Yeah. But what I always say, though, is that, you see, this is what I say, like, sometimes a defender needs the right defender next to him to really play well.
100%.
Varane with Umtiti looks like one of the best defenders in the world. Varane next to Sergio Ramos or next to Militao looks like next to a Militao or so forth looks very shaky. So I do think that if, let's say, Stones or even Otamendi were next to Laporte, who you feel a sense of confidence when, you know that this guy is good, and you're talking to each other all the time, and he's telling you the right things. Are like, okay, no, push up, mark up, go in, watch that mark. But when you now have 2 guys who aren't very good, then they'll both get exposed. But if you have a really good experienced guy, it levitates the ability of the defender next to him. So I do feel that, yes, they didn't replace Company, but I think if Laporte was there, he would have improved the defensive positioning of the guy that he was partnered with.
See, the problem is with someone like Otamendi, and I know this because we've got a defender exactly the same in Mustafi at Arsenal, is as a centre back, if you know that your centre back partner is accustomed to diving in and trying to win the ball out of the pitch, you're automatically thinking, I'm going to have to cover this guy. So you're thinking, if this guy does something wrong, I need to be there. So you're not thinking on what you should be doing yourself. You're thinking, I need to cover this guy. And that's why I don't understand how Otamendi could be playing at such a high level at Man City, and that hasn't been coached out of him yet. And I know because I used to play defense, and whenever you had a defender next to you who you knew wasn't necessarily on the ball, you're always worried. You're always worried that, right, I need to make sure that I'm watching this guy rather than what, you know what I mean? And I think that's the case with Man City. That's why when you put a Stones and a Otamendi together, it doesn't work, because Stones is quite, he likes to take his time on the ball and stuff like that. And Otamendi's just a madman. He's like a dog chasing a car.
Even for me, even what I learned from the very few times I've played central defense, very few times, is that it's not about tackling. It's about positioning and reading the 90% of it is reading the game. So if you're just going around everywhere like that, then you're crap. 90% of it is, because for me, when I just played central defense, I was like, oh, damn, this is crazy. So do I come out? Do I stay back? Do I follow this guy? Do I go man-to-man? Do I go zonal? What the hell is happening to me? I mean, should I follow his run? Should I not follow his run? So they don't want to, but once you're experienced, but also you're just, if people are just when you're just smart to it, you just know. Basically, you're 3 or 4 steps ahead. You're like, yeah, I know that he's going to make that run there, so I'm going to be there before he even gets there. But I'm not going to run there yet. But when the ball comes, I'm going to just be there an extra because I didn't know he's going to make that run over there. So that whole positioning thing is key, especially because, see, if you're deep, then it's a different kind of defending that you do, which is why Laporte is a better defender than a Varane, because Varane works very well in a deeper defensive team. But a much more attacking team where you need to be good at positioning, he can now get a little bit sketchy.
But it's difficult as well when Laporte obviously is played alongside Company, and you have that direction, you have that leadership next to you, and then once that's gone, and you're now with Otamendi, you're the guy who's supposed to be telling what's happening, do this, do that, do that. It's hard. It's hard to go from the student to the teacher.
True. Actually, let me just hit some. So I think this is obviously going back to best performances. Messi. Do you remember that?
Yes, I think he did it to us twice. Actually, I think he scored 4 goals against us twice. But yeah, we lobbed Almunia, and it looked like, and the original shot looked like Almunia saved it. But
Almunia, that dude.
Yeah. Oh, worst goalkeeper I've ever seen in my life.
Worse than Karius?
Yes.
No.
Yes, Almunia. Karius could at least save a shot. Almunia will get beat.
Almunia wasn't that as bad as I remember.
No, come on. Almunia was terrible.
Terrible?
Remember that goal? Remember that Ronaldo free kick at Highbury from 30 yards? Beat him at his near post from 35 yards. Come on. Almunia was terrible. Terrible.
Wait, was Memphis Depay really that good in 17-18? Was that his Lyon season?
Was that Lyon? It must have been. Yeah, it must have been. Yeah.
No. For me, I always say Memphis Depay, which is why as pissed off as I am that we don't have in the Euros this summer, in a way, maybe a blessing in disguise, because I do feel that, you see, I said that I'm not even going to put Holland in the conversation for the Euros, but if they now have a Memphis Depay, then Holland are real underdogs. I think Memphis Depay for Holland is really good.
Well, they've got a very good squad. But it's Holland. They always find a way to mess it up.
Yeah, no. Those guys are the biggest bottlers anyway. I'll never forgive Almunia.
Terrible goalkeeper.
Almunia was pure garbage.
Yeah,
all right. You know what? Mm-hmm. People are sleeping on Jesus. Now, let me just talk about Jesus right now. I appreciate everything that Aguero's done and everything, but I felt that Jesus was harshly done by in that 2018 World Cup. He wasn't ready. He was too young. And for me, Gabriel Jesus is no Romario or let's say Anan is a flipping freak of nature. So at 21 years old, he was playing like a fully grown man. So people gave Jesus so much kind of hate based on he didn't have any goals, but also did you see what he did to Company in that game against Belgium? Because that should have been a penalty. But I think that he is now sort of coming into his own and his element. So obviously the future is with Jesus because Aguero is now getting older. So do you still feel that Aguero should be first choice all the way through? Because this is not about Aguero. 100% on face value, Aguero is the better striker overall. Can we be real? What has Aguero done in the Champions League? Has he ever really had a big moment in the Champions League? I don't think he has. So do you feel that City should now be really focusing more on trying to usher Jesus as the main striker and really try and gradually edge Aguero away? Or do you think Aguero can still offer something, but specifically, what about the Premier League? He's already done that. Do you think that Aguero can still be trusted to be the man to deliver for Man City in the Champions League, or should they give Jesus the chance?
Well, I think Jesus will take his place. Well, possibly. It just depends on what Aguero wants to do. If Aguero wants to go back to Argentina or whatever, then I imagine Pep and City will allow him to do so. I have my doubts on whether they see Jesus as his natural replacement, because I think if they did, then he would be getting more games. I feel as if they're going to go out and sign a big money replacement for Aguero and have Jesus kind of as backup to that person.
What do you think? Do you think they'll go?
I don't know.
Timo Werner?
I don't know. Timo Werner is a possibility.
Kane?
He would work. Harry Kane? Possibly. But I just have a feeling there's no factual basis behind what I'm saying. It's just a feeling I have that Aguero will go and they'll sign someone else rather than just stick with Jesus as the first choice. But I think Jesus, he's a quality player. His goal scoring record for Man City is ridiculous for such a young. I forget how young he is sometimes. And he's shown that he can do it. Can he do it for a complete season over 38 games or 50 games or whatever? Yeah, can he do that? We don't know. Aguero is one of the best goal scorers in Premier League history. I know he hasn't really done it in the Champions League as much, but Man City haven't really done it in the Champions League. Hardly any of them have. So I can't really use that as a stick to beat him with.
No. But what I'd say is that it's not like if you're playing for Galatasaray or like certain thing, like City have always been against Monaco. You'd argue that they were favourites against Monaco. Against Liverpool, you could say they were maybe slight favourites because that was the season that they won the league. So in those instances, they were either slight favourites or strong favourites. Tottenham, they were overwhelming favourites. So my thing is that for what you've done in the Premier League, I still have to hold his feet to the fire that you were not able, in a team that, has possession and had opportunities, you were not able to get yourself in a position to deliver and score that vital goal when a team needed you to in the Champions League. So that is a fair criticism.
Yeah, but then you also have to criticize everyone else because it's not just him. Do you know what I mean? It's that who were creating the chances for him? How deep do you want to go? Do you know what I mean? So I think yes, he hasn't got the best Champions League record, but Man City don't have the best Champions League record. So we have to hold them all accountable for it. I think the only one who really did do something last season was Sterling, because he couldn't really have done much more personally himself. Other than that, you have to look at all of them.
Wait, why do people rate Rashford so highly? So Rashford is better. So do you put Rashford over Jesus?
Rashford, if you know what the thing is, I rate Rashford very highly, and the reason being because his numbers. And if you look at what he's done, especially this season before he got injured, his numbers were ridiculous. He was getting almost a goal contribution per game. And I think he's a young kid, burst on the scene at 17. He's clearly a very intelligent footballer for his age. And I think he will get better. I think Man United fans mostly they didn't help him with all this, he's better than Mbappe. Because as soon as you say something stupid like that, everyone's going to start getting on Rashford's back. It's not Rashford's fault. He didn't say that. I'm pretty sure he knows he's not better than Mbappe. But as soon as you start saying stuff like that, everyone's going to jump on his back. And that's kind of what happens. So people detract from how good he is because he's being compared to Mbappe in that world-class level. He's not world-class. He might be. He has the potential to be. But let him prove himself. As far as is he better than Jesus, I think they're two different players because I don't think Rashford's a striker. Rashford's an inside forward. I don't think he's a striker. I think he plays better as kind of what they've had with Martial, where they're able to, interchange and stuff like that. Whereas I think Jesus is a striker.
Okay. De Bruyne. Now, I've actually found it's really hard to pick like a player of the year because I don't know about you, but I don't know whether there's been a supremely outstanding player. I think in previous seasons you're like, okay, it's obvious that it's whether it's Hazard or it's obvious that it's it's Salah or it's obvious that it's Sterling and so forth. Like there's always been a player who has been just wow, that player has stood out. So if Liverpool were to win the league, who was the outstanding player for Liverpool? It's just been an amazing team effort. But people keep saying that if you're going to give a PFA award, you've got to give it to De Bruyne because De Bruyne has easily been the best player this season. And De Bruyne has been very good. Has De Bruyne truly been outstanding this season? I think he's definitely been one of Man City's better players this season because, again, I'm not going to sort of blame him solely for City being like, 15, 16 points behind Liverpool. And this is not me hating. I just don't think that De Bruyne has sort of stood out head and shoulders from everyone else in the Premier League, So, first question, before I go on another. So, would you, if you were still okay, season has been avoided, it's cancelled, you now have to pick player of the year. Would you give player of the year to De Bruyne?
I probably would. I would, but I think you're right there. No one's really been outstanding. I don't think anyone has really. I can't just think of someone and say, you know what, that player has been amazing all season. But that doesn't mean that he shouldn't be player of the year. It just means he's been the best of a not based on a not very outstanding bunch. But I think De Bruyne deserves it, and I don't think the argument of but what if Man City won means anything because it's not about it's an individual award of how good you've done your job, and he's done his job very well, very, very well. So I think he deserves to win it. De Bruyne is a hell of a player, and I think when you look at what he was doing at times in the season, there was one or two instances of passes that he made, assists that he made, and there's not many other players in the league who can do
Crosses,
that. Yeah.
So now I was reading something about how De Bruyne would consider his deal and contract if this ban with City was to go through.
Understandable. Understandable. I understand.
No, for sure. So ban or not, do you see De Bruyne as a long-term guy for Man City where he'll pretty much play out his best years at Man City, or do you see him moving on? So let me answer that first.
No, sorry, go on.
So for me, I don't see him staying at Man City. I think his profile is slowly rising. And the funny thing is this, though. It's crazy that we didn't have the Euros this summer. Based on what Belgium did at the World Cup, no Hazard, and how open this thing would have been, I feel De Bruyne would have been I don't know whether Belgium would have won it, but I think De Bruyne would have probably been one of the best players at the Euros this summer. I think that would have raised his profile even higher. And there just isn't something in my mind just says De Bruyne and Man City isn't a long-term thing. So my answer is that he leaves Man City within the next few years. So the other question is, say he leaves Man City in the next few years, where does he roll into? I see him, call me crazy, I see him potentially at Real Madrid because he's a very ambitious player. And you could just tell whenever he's interviewed and so forth, he's a guy that definitely wants to win. And I do think that his profile will raise to a position where, because I think he is a kind of player that I think Real Madrid would actually benefit from and need, based on him playing multiple positions and also the way he plays. So I would see him probably basically either rolling in at Real Madrid or maybe Bayern Munich. But I don't know whether Bayern Munich would be able to, because Real Madrid would be able to pull out the money for it, but I don't think Bayern would be able to afford things for De Bruyne.
the one thing I'd say is if there is the Champions League ban, then he may leave. If they're not banned from the Champions League, he ain't going anywhere. Man City do not lose their players. No one takes players from Man City. They've never, ever since they've had that money, no one's taken any of their players. Do you know what I mean? None of their stars have left. If he was to leave, it would be a massive deal for Man City because they're losing a star. As I said, they've never lost one. I think the only club he could go to is Real Madrid. I think he suits Real Madrid. I think he suits Real Madrid perfectly. Modric is coming towards the end of his career. Toni Kroos is getting older. I think he fits them perfectly. If you're talking 2 years down the line, for example, I think he fits perfectly. Another thing about Kevin De Bruyne is something that I noticed. I think he'll make a good manager. When I see him in interviews and stuff, he speaks like he could be a manager. He speaks very well. And you can see he understands the game when he's breaking down the game in interviews and stuff. I think he could go on to be a very good manager. Just something that I noticed.
And you know the funny thing that a guy who I know would be a trash manager, Hazard. Because hopefully the only that you said is like they have two completely different kinds of personalities. Like De Bruyne, as you say, feels like a true professional who's like, no, this guy is very dedicated to the game. Hazard is like, this guy isn't really serious. Like he's so talented and everything. Yeah. He's turning up overweight. He said that he's addicted to cheeseburgers and stuff. So yeah.
But I've always said that. I've always said that there's many players. Ronaldinho is another one. They just happen to be very good at the game, and they don't love the game for the competition and wanting to be the best. But they're just very good at it, and they love having fun.
And I think that's the way. I think maybe for me though, I don't know. Maybe that's to say something to myself. I just seem to gravitate towards those kinds of, whether it's a Dini or a Hazard, where like I know these guys are jokers and these guys are actually not very professional, but maybe their lack of professionality and just their kind of carefree nature is what they bring into the game. Like they're one of the guys where they'll just do something crazy out of nothing, like just take the ball from the halfway line, chip Seaman from like 70, 80 years because they're so mad, you know.
But that's why we all fell in love with the game, isn't it? We all played it for fun first and foremost, and we had fun. But that's one thing. But when you're a professional, I think you should have the mindset of I'm in this profession to be the best. Do you know what I mean? And that's how you
because
get.
You're getting a lot of money because it's a job.
Yeah,
you know. So from Footy Wisdom, I said, am I the only one who judges Messi this harsh? I'm sorry, but the guy I saw score that goal against Bilbao should be scoring those two chances against Germany. Dribble 7 players, score, and then score again. Sue me. So let me say this. And I think we were having this discussion like before, and I think this is what we said about the World Cup. Like the World Cup is the most difficult competition, you know. And Messi can do all those things in the Champions League and in La Liga because the level in La Liga, I think, is lower, especially when you're playing like Tapas FC and like, you know, Hablamos United. And even in the Champions League, when you're playing, I'm sure Devil will know this based on like just knowing your football things, that if you're playing in a team that's every single week, you have that kind of familiarity of I know where he's going to run, because it's so drilled into your brain. It is easier. It's not easy. If high football is not easy, but it is easier than the World Cup, which is like it's 7 games and with players who don't play with every single week for a very finite time. And the margin of error is much less. So it is a much more difficult situation for Messi to do what he does internationally and what he does for a club. Hence why the whole thing of adaptability is so key, which is why I say Cristiano, say all you want. Cristiano is amazing at adapting his game based on whatever team calls for him.
Yeah, the thing is, with Messi, it's hard to be harsh on him because everything that he's done. And sometimes it feels like people are harsh on him because they hold him to a different standard than they do any other footballer, which is understandable because of what he's done in the game. But, you know, name me one footballer in the world of football who hasn't missed an easy chance. You can't. It's just his one stands out more because he does all these other things so amazingly well that when he does miss a chance, you're like, I can't believe he's missed that. He shouldn't miss that. He's Messi. He has to score every time. It's understandable. It comes with being the best.
Rashford will win a Ballon d'Or before Neymar.
No. You know,
But wait, do you know
I
what's
doubt
funny?
it. I doubt it. The only
No.
reason why I would say that is because Rashford's so much younger than he is.
And also, my thing is, okay, no, let me flip the question. Before he retires, do you think Neymar wins a Ballon d'Or?
It depends on Neymar. It depends on how much Neymar wants to continue playing football. If he just wants to have fun on the football pitch, it depends on how long Messi keeps going. Because once Messi retired, then it's open, closed everything wide open.
Like your gut feeling. If you just say based on your gut feeling, do you think he focuses, has that amazing year, and before he retires, wins a Ballon d'Or?
No, and the reason why, I think, as long as he's playing alongside Mbappe, I think Mbappe will be the first to get a Ballon d'Or before him. If Mbappe goes to Real Madrid and balls there, Mbappe will get the Ballon d'Or there. So I think if Neymar leaves and goes to Real Madrid and leaves Mbappe at PSG, Neymar will get there before Mbappe.
And how likely do you? No, because see, I always said this that the right team for Neymar was Real Madrid.
Mm-hmm.
Because I just felt that his character and who he is, diva, blah 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 blah, and also the way he plays, it is suited for Real Madrid. Because really, Barcelona is you have to acquiesce to Messi, and it's a very particular thing. I think he was very restricted there, so I think he would be given much more freedom there. But my thing is that does Neymar go to Real Madrid before he? Even that's another great question. What happens with the whole PSG thing? Does he stay with PSG all the way through? Really? Does he go back to Barcelona maybe when Messi leaves? Do Real Madrid somehow find a way to actually get him? Because again, my thing is that Real Madrid are now getting Mbappe. So if Real Madrid gets Mbappe, would Neymar want to now go to play in the same team as the younger kid where the spotlight isn't on you? It's like that's the thing that, because last few questions before we get out of here. Last questions and be out of here, man. Who will win the Ballon d'Or this year if football does not continue?
Corona. Coronavirus.
Oh, bad.
Ballon d'Or.
No, look, maybe no, look. I have no idea, bro. I have
Lewandowski.
Let me actually see this guy's stats.
Lewandowski hasn't he got like a goal a game or something this season? There or thereabouts.
Let me see this dude's stats. Because his stats this season have been quite insane. Oh my god. 25 goals, 23 games.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. 11 goals. That's disgusting. I mean,
he's been balling,
yeah.
He's been balling.
Look, based on that, I think you'd probably have to give it to that dude, man.
What's Messi doing this season though? Because isn't Messi having a bit of a mad season as well?
Let's see, Messi.
And we all know they like to give these things to Messi, so.
But I mean, I'm sure that he has stuff that's that crazy. Liga, 19 goals, 21 appearances, 12 assists.
That's a terrible season so far for Messi.
Yeah, but see, that's like bad. But see, do you know how crazy that is?
Wait, did you say
like,
12 assists?
Yeah, 12 assists, 19 goals, 12 assists.
In 21 games. Oh, this guy's different. He's not from this planet.
No. I mean, it is stupid, man. It is stupid. It is.
You know what it's like?
When Messi,
he upgraded football, and we're on iOS 9, and he's on iOS 23.
But you know what I always said is that just I don't have Messi based on him not doing it for Argentina and so forth. But I do feel that when he retires, we're going to look at what he did for Barcelona and be like, yeah, this dude was a different dude. Like, I watched that last video of his 91 goals. You know, almost there was a point where every other goal was a chip.
Yeah.
Like unless you've played football, you don't know how disrespectful where you are just chipping guys for fun. You know? So, that's crazy.
Yeah, I might have to watch that video again, actually.
So wait, which young manager are you the most excited for? Can be from any league. Or for me, it's easy. It's the Leipzig manager.
Yep, Nagelsmann, easily.
Like he's basically, I don't want to give out my age, but let's just say he's around my age, which I find shocking. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like for me,
He was managing top flight football at 28.
which is completely stupid. I mean, are there any other ones? How old is Eddie Howe? No, Eddie Howe is maybe like 40
No,
something.
Eddie Howe's been around for a while. For me, it's Nagelsmann. I can't really think of any others, to be honest. He's the one who stands out.
Yeah, because he's the
Obviously,
only
there's
really.
Arteta.
I was about to say, how old is Arteta?
Arteta must be
He's like 38,
40. He must be 40. It was his birthday recently. So, yeah.
Why hasn't there been successful English manager for decades? What's wrong with the culture?
That's a good question. You know what it is? It's the same reason why there's not been, until recently, any real... there hasn't been many English players go abroad. Now we have a lot of young players going abroad because the English mentality as far as the game was, it's all here. Why do we have to learn anything else? And as soon as the foreign managers came over with all these new tactics, new, nutrition, new ideas, the English managers didn't want to adapt. For a long, long time, they didn't want to adapt. And then instead of doing that, they complained about all these foreign managers coming over, taking it. And Sam Allardyce was one of the first to do it. Sam Allardyce was one of the most vocal. One manager who did actually change was Harry Redknapp. To give him his dues, Harry Redknapp altered his managerial.
Very good manager.
And he was a very good manager.
Very good.
Other than that, a lot of them didn't change their ways until recently.
So you think it's the case that English managers need to go to like a Spain, Portugal, or Italy and then go on a tactical coaching course in those kinds of countries and then bring it back?
Football's changed. You have to move with the times. And you look at like Germany, when after they had that whole debacle and they changed their entire youth setup and everything like that, they looked at what Spain were doing, they looked at what Holland were doing, and they changed the entire setup from youth level all the way up. And you saw how successful that was. England have only just started doing that in terms of like grassroots. They're not playing full-size pitches for children under 12, all of those kind of things. So it encourages, a smaller space, a better touch. All of that stuff has only just come in the last 5 years. So in terms of English managers, they're going to start learning new ways of playing football as well. And you should start to see English managers, get better and better. We'll have to wait and see.
One thing I will say that also, from my own personal experience is that, I think it's a mentality thing, because again, even when I was playing in school and sort of on everything, and I think, but in England, there is more of a focus on winning. So even when you're really young, they train you to try to win the game. They don't train you to play the game well. Whereas if you go to like a Holland or a Spain or thingy, those 8, 9, 10-year-olds are trained on your first touch, keeping the ball and just being technically good at the game. Are we just playing the game well? Forget about what the score is, just play the game well. Because if you play the game well enough, then you can then learn the intangibles of knowing how to win. So I just think at the very grassroots, lower level, there's not a focus on just enjoying the game. Because again, as I said again, like I remember I was watching this program. Rooney was doing like this 5-a-side program. There's amazing English kids who are really, really good. And they asked this kid, like, wait, why didn't you do 11-a-side? I said, no, it's boring. Like when I go to 11-a-side, all the fun of football that I have has been taken away. So it's the whole thing of bringing the fun back. All right, we'll take maybe a few more questions in here. So Rashford scored more goals than Mane playing less. Is that true?
Yeah. Rashford this season. Look at Rashford's numbers this season.
I am going to look at this Rashford.
Yeah, he's been very, very good this season, and Martial as well. Martial doesn't get enough credit this season either. Man United's front three have got more goals this season than Liverpool's.
Wait, say what? What?
Man United's front three this season. So if you're talking Greenwood, Martial, Rashford, have got more goals this season than Liverpool's.
Damn! Wow. Okay. So I think this is basically what you asked me before. I think I'm asking this. Devil, what would be a greater feat for Mbappe? Champions League with PSG, World Cup with France.
Champions League with PSG, easily, because France have got one of the most talented group of players in the history of world football all at the same time. They've got a massive pool of players. When you look at the players that France could pick from in their squad, it's ridiculous. France have also won the World Cup in recent times. PSG have never won the Champions League in their history. They were formed in 1970, so it's not that old anyway. But to achieve that as the spearhead for Paris Saint-Germain, with all of the money and what it means to that part of the world in the Middle East, and the achievement it would be for them, it would be massive. So I'd say that would be a bigger feat at this stage in his career.
Okay. All right. Okay. Final. I mean, I disagree, but I'm not going to go into detail of why I disagree. Let's do this final question. We'll be out of here. If England colonized and conquered Brazil instead of Australia and India, how good would they be? But see, now this is weird though.
Not very good.
Brazil. How do you know? Because so basically, Brazil was a Portuguese colony. So I don't know how they could conquer Brazil because Brazil was already.
But it's all ifs and buts, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean,
yeah. But I mean, the thing is, you look at what England colonized half the world, and what did they do with it? Do you know what I mean? The thing is with England is, look at France and those kind of countries where they call it, and they accepted these people and said, right, you are French, you could play for us, blah blah blah. Well, accepted them within that context. We're in England. Look how many people are in England. Look at the cultures. How many people we have who play for the national team who are dual nationality? None.
No.
None. It's you would think that you would have. We have generations and generations of dual nationality citizens. None of them play football for England.
So why do you think that is then? That there are no more dual nationalities for England as opposed to the amounts that you have in France?
Because society isn't ready for that. English society isn't ready for that.
And it's rare that you say this because I remember when I was in school, and this was, I think, late 90s or 2000s when like Le Pen was really prominent in France. It's like this kind of super right-wing dude in France. And I remember there was a time when, I swear to you, this is the French national team, the beacon of France. This is when France had won the World Cup. I think there were like 8 black players. There were like 3 or 4 white players and 8 black players. And Le Pen said, this is a disgrace. Look, how can we have all these other players play for France? And for England, as you said, is England really ready for 8, 9 black players representing the England national football team?
But it's not just black. It's not just black. It could be because look how many, there's probably so many kids now in England who are Polish, English. Do you know what I mean? Or Italian, English, or all of that kind of stuff. And none of them play for England. But I remember that thing with France at World Cup 98, because there was a big thing going into that tournament about how many black players and how many African players were playing for that. And there's a big thing in France at the time until they won. And then when they won, it was a big celebration of the unity and now everyone's together and we're all French. And a similar thing happened at the last World Cup. There was a lot of complaints about the team being full of Africans and blah, 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 until they won. And then they won, it was like, we're all French and we celebrate together.
No, because I think people were even sketchy on Zidane and everything because it was okay, he's Algerian and everything. Then when he did what he did at the World Cup final, he's now the beacon of France and everything, but he says he's Algeria is still very special. So, but do you think that there will ever be a case where England is very multicultural with regards to the fabric of the team as to the extent of France? Or you think that never can happen?
I mean, look at the England team now. There's a lot of black players in the England team now. You got just off the top of my head, Trent. You got Gomez, Sancho, Sterling, Rashford.
That's
more I can't think of.
Is it King? No.
Oh no, Wilson. There's probably more who I can't remember right now. I think Danny Rose is still there and thereabouts in the squad. Kyle Walker, Tammy Abraham. Yeah, so there's a lot.
Yeah. All right, look, guys. Again, obviously, Nick's bailed out on us, man. I
he's
think
upset, man. He's upset because
what Burna Boy?
Because Vibes Cartel got beat in the clash last night, and he's taking it very hard.
Look, man, Wizkid is that dude, man. Basically, Wizkid is pretty much he's the king of Afrobeats and one of the hottest artists out right now. You know, he's doing.
No, but that's coming 10-0. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
How so?
That's ridiculous. Vibes Cartel, come on. I'm not even a big Bashment fan, but I know Vibes Cartel ain't getting beat 10-0 by nobody. That's ridiculous.
Okay, guys, look, man, we're out of here. Remember, guys, to join our Patreon page. It is down there in the description box below and so forth. And we will also remember to follow Nix and Devil via their Twitter links in the description boxes as well. So, guys, remember, we'll see you on Thursday for the Q&A, 8 p.m. this Thursday for the Q&A, guys. Guys, peace out, stay true. Remember, guys, stay safe, guys. Peace.